All right, let's get right into it. When we talk about governing AI, especially in really regulated industries like life sciences or finance, our brains usually go to a single project, right? One algorithm at a time. But what happens when you have 10 of them? Or 100? That's what we're tackling today, making the leap from governing one-off projects to managing an entire AI portfolio.
Now this is interesting because it kind of flips the script on what we think the real danger is. The biggest threat isn't that one system is going to have a massive catastrophic failure. No, it's the slow, quiet buildup of risk across all your different systems, creating a kind of danger that no single project review could ever possibly see coming.
So let's kick things off by digging into why that classic one-by-one approval process is actually a trap. I mean, it seems logical on the surface, but it hides a much bigger, way more complex problem that only shows up when all these systems start bumping into each other.
Look, any single AI system you roll out comes with its own baggage. You've got to worry about its authority. Like, what decisions is this thing even allowed to make? You've got change. How are we going to handle updates and new versions? Then there's the operational load it puts on your teams, and of course, the big one, compliance risk. By itself, for one system, you can probably manage all this.
But here's the thing, AI systems never operate in a neat little vacuum. The real trouble starts when these individual, seemingly well-managed systems start to collide out in the wild of your operational environment. And this is the absolute key takeaway. Adding a second AI system doesn't just double your risk. The risks actually interact with each other, and they create brand new, often totally invisible ways for everything to go wrong. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's more like 1 + 1 = 5, and you have 3 new problems you never even thought to look for.
And this is what those interactions actually look like. You might have 2 different AI models giving you conflicting advice on the very same manufacturing batch. Or maybe a single data pipeline that feeds 3 separate systems goes down, triggering a massive cascading failure. And don't even get me started on shadow AI. You know, the systems that teams build on the side without any official approval, they just blow a hole in your entire governance plan. You just can't see these kinds of problems when you're only looking at one system at a time.
So, what do we do about it? Well, we need a whole new playbook. We have to shift our thinking away from managing single projects and start governing a holistic portfolio. And that requires a new way of thinking about control.
So this is the mental model you need. Think of it like a stack with 3 layers. Down at the bottom, you have the evidence and audit plane, which is just constantly gathering proof that everything is working the way it's supposed to. In the middle, you've got the execution plane. That's where all your systems, your IT stuff and your OT stuff, like lab equipment or factory machines, are actually doing their jobs. And then, sitting on top of it all, is the control plane. That's where you set the rules, run your checks, and give the green light. This whole structure is what gives you that crucial portfolio-level view of everything.
So how do you actually build a framework that can do all this? It really all comes down to 4 fundamental pillars that hold the entire thing up. Pillar number 1 is the most basic, but it's everything: total visibility. It's an old saying, but it's true. You cannot govern what you cannot see. This is the absolute foundation of any good portfolio strategy.
And this means you need a full inventory of every single AI system being used. You have to know where it is in its life cycle, exactly what decisions it has the authority to influence, its regulatory relevance, like whether it's GXP relevant for those in life sciences, and critically, who is the one person responsible for it. Without this basic information, you're just flying blind.
Okay, so once you can see everything, that immediately leads us to our second pillar: strategic prioritization. You've got to decide where to focus your attention and your resources. Because let's be honest, they're not infinite, and not all systems are created equal.
Look, your organization only has so much time and so many people for validation and monitoring. If you're treating a simple little chatbot with the same level of intense scrutiny as an AI that's controlling a manufacturing line, you're going to stretch your teams way too thin, and that just leads to shallow oversight across the board. Portfolio governance lets you put your focus where it really truly matters most.
Pillar number 3 is all about enforced consistency. In a regulated environment, this is completely non-negotiable. You just can't have different teams making up their own rules for similar kinds of systems. That's just asking for a compliance nightmare and a really bad time during an audit.
What this really means is having shared standards for all your controls. You need a common definition of what good evidence looks like. You need a single, uniform process for how you respond to incidents. And you need everyone to be aligned on change management. Believe me, consistency is your absolute best friend when the auditors show up.
And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar: clear decision rights. You know, when everything is running smoothly, this might not seem like a big deal. But in a crisis,
Ambiguity over who has the authority to make a call is an absolute recipe for disaster.
You've got to decide, up front, who gets to make the big calls. Who has the final say to approve a new system for the portfolio? If two of your systems are giving conflicting advice, who's the tiebreaker? And, maybe most importantly, who has the power to hit the big red stop button on a live system if things go sideways? These rights have to be crystal clear long before you ever need to use them.
So you see, when you put all four of these pillars together, visibility, prioritization, consistency, and clear decision rights, you finally have a framework that allows your organization to scale up its use of AI responsibly, and not just enthusiastically.
Because the alternative is falling into all the usual traps. You're approving systems one by one, you're totally ignoring those dangerous interaction risks, and you end up with this messy patchwork of inconsistent standards that just leads to governance fatigue, where your teams get so burnt out they just give up on the whole process.
Now, I want to be super clear about what we've done here. This explainer has been all about the mechanics of portfolio governance. It's designed to get leaders like you ready to build and run these kinds of systems. What it does not do, however, is tell you exactly which committees to set up or give the thumbs up to any specific AI tool. So I'll just leave you with this one question to take back to your teams. I want you to really look at your current processes, your controls, all of it, and ask yourselves, is our governance actually built to handle an interconnected portfolio of AI systems? Or are we still just looking at one project at a time? Because the answer to that question is everything when it comes to scaling safely.